Mohamed Salah isn't as good as he used to be. Now that is a big statement, however let me explain why I think that. Over the past 12 to 18 months we have seen a noticeable drop off in Salah's performances, both visually and statistically. He used to humiliate defences, now he can barely beat a man 1v1 and goes missing in crunch matches. So today I will dive into Salah's 7 seasons at Liverpool and detail exactly why I think the Egyptian has tailed off lately. First and foremost, let's dive into a unique stat, a stat that people commonly don't look at, and that is dribble success rate. Let's dive into why Salah's dribble success rate has dropped drastically in his time at Liverpool, because he's almost halved his success rate since his first season. So in his first season at Liverpool, he had a dribble success rate of 63%, and this season he's had a dribble success rate of 36%. I've got the stats here on screen, and I'll show you them now. Look how he has dropped season by season in terms of his dribbling success rate numbers. Yes, he's sort of adapted to a different style. Now he is more of a facilitator. He's facilitating players like Nunez, like Diaz, feeding balls through to them. But it's still a shame that his dribble success rate has dropped this much. And if you have watched Salah this season, you will know what I'm on about. Salah constantly loses the ball. And me, as a Liverpool fan, I get so frustrated watching him try and beat a player and more often than not beating him. He constantly loses the ball in key areas where if he does beat the man, we're into a good goal scoring opportunity. Or if he does beat the man, he can set someone else up. It's really frustrating. And that's maybe because he's using a bit of pace. Maybe he's becoming more predictable. In his first season, defenders don't really know what to expect in the same way as they do now. Now he is a bit more predictable. You know Salah, he's not a very skillful player. He'll just try and bundle his way through or bait you in and then skip past you. He's not like a Neymar or a Vinicius who will pull out all the tricks in the locker. And he's definitely not like a Hazard who seems to beat players like that with his dynamic runs and his dynamic dribbling. So yeah, it is a shame to see this stat drop off by a considerable amount, and that could be linked to Salah's poor form, because if he's not beating players and he's constantly losing the ball, it's going to dent his confidence. And now let's move on to the big one. Goals scored. This is absolutely key, and as you can see, it does fluctuate through his time at Liverpool, and there isn't really any seasons that stand out as poor, but there is one season that stands out as excellent, which is 17-18, 32 goals and 36 appearances, phenomenal right there. But Liverpool are almost a bit more unhinged that season. We didn't have as much of a responsibility on defensive work from the front. Yes, they were the first line of defence, but they weren't as disciplined and they didn't track back as much as they do now, which did help them score a bunch of goals, but nevertheless, irrespective of that, it is quality from Mo Salah to put up those numbers. But as you can see, he averages probably around 20 to 22 goals a season at Liverpool, and this season he's on 17. And that's not too bad because he's only done it in 26 appearances. So 17 and 26 is pretty good. But there is countless times this season where he's gone missing in games and you're thinking, Salah, come on, we need a goal here. Or come on, can you perform better than this? And I'm not talking about going missing like, oh, he missed a few chances or he only beat the man a couple of times. He's generally non-existent. He is generally anonymous. You would rather have pretty much any other Liverpool forward on that right side in that match, apart from Salah. That's how poor he has been at times. And these are the matches that Salah has most notably gone missing this season for me. Palace at home, Sheffield United at home, Sheffield United away, Burnley away, Luton away, Man United at home. And all of these teams have one thing in common. They're low blocks. They sit in and they sit deep and they'll look to absorb the pressure and hit on the break. Look when United came to Anfield. Liverpool had a countless amount of shots on goal, didn't score. United were camped in and they tried to hit on the break. And it's the same with Sheffield United, Palace, Burnley, Luton. They'll look to absorb pressure and hit Liverpool on the counter. And that probably tells you that Salah does not thrive against low block teams, and he never has done really. He's always favoured the space in behind. When he comes up against City, when he comes up against Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal, and they look to go at Liverpool, he loves that because he can make those runs in behind the defence and score goals. But that probably does link to how he's almost been even more ineffective this season. He's losing that unpredictability, he's losing that pace, that agility, maybe that nous to get in between the defenders in a low block and score a goal. Yes, his creative numbers are still quite good, but his goal scoring numbers have dropped this season from that standpoint in terms of going missing against low blocks, and his goal scoring numbers have dropped significantly against the big teams. And this is the stat that frustrates me most, as Diaz, Nunez, Gakpo, these players, they're still raw. They're not that player that you can depend upon in the big games as we've seen this season. Jota struggled with injury, so Salah, you've got to be the main man in these fixtures. You've got to be the man that will look at and go, he can get us a goal if we don't score today. If we have an off day, he can get us a goal because he is a world-class forward and he's a talismanic figure in this Liverpool team. In his first season at Liverpool, he managed 7 goals in 10 appearances against the big six. Phenomenal. In his second season, 2 in 10. That was a really poor season against the top sides from Mo Salah in the Premier League. But he had Mane and Firmino alongside him, 2 world-class forwards who did get a large chunk of those goals in those games against the big six. In his third season, he got 4 and 10. In his fourth season, he got 5 and 10. In his fifth season, he got 8 and 10. And in his sixth season, last season, he got 9 goals in 10 appearances against the Big Six. Phenomenal. These numbers are brilliant. Yes, a lot of them were stat padding against Man United, but irrespective of that, he's turning up in the big games when Liverpool need him. Last season, he dragged Liverpool through a lot at times. Same in the 2020-21 season when Liverpool were really poor as well. Who could they depend upon? Mo Salah. He was stepping up in those moments to drag Liverpool through games. And this season, he's got 2 goals in 7 appearances against the Big Six. A really, really poor record. Away against Man City, he didn't score. At home against United, he didn't score. Away against Chelsea, he didn't score. Away against Tottenham, he didn't score. These are games where you've got to depend upon Mo Salah. He's got to be your man in these big games. And what annoys me most is that Liverpool, well, I should say we, because I'm a Liverpool fan, we didn't win these games. Away at Tottenham, yes, that was controversial, but we didn't win it. Away at City, we didn't win that game. At home against Man United, we didn't win that game. Away at Chelsea, we didn't win that game. When we don't win games, you've got to look to players like Salah because he's your main goal scorer. If you don't win and you're not scoring the goals, he's the first person you look to. And seasons gone by, he would have dragged us through these games. He would have scored those goals that would have won us the points when we weren't playing well. But he's not this season. Scored a very good goal against Arsenal in the 1-1 at Anfield. Brilliant goal where he cut inside. That was a remarkable performance from Salah from the goal scoring standpoint. And away against United, he scored a high pressure penalty. 2 good goals there, but that's it. That's all he's got in 7 appearances against the top teams. It's simply not good enough. Yes, you can almost look at the other players and say they aren't performing, but I'll link it back to what I said at the start. Those players, they aren't polished. They aren't the finished article. Salah is, and he's got to be your main man in these crunch matches. However, it's not all doom and gloom for Salah as he has registered 9 assists in 25 league appearances this season, which is really, really respectable. One of his best records in the Premier League because he averages around 10 to 12 assists every season in the Premier League, but that's over the course of the whole season. That's over 36, 38 matches. So really, really good there from Mo Salah, and that links back to him becoming more of a facilitator, more of a provider for the likes of Núñez, for the likes of Diaz, for the likes of Gakpo, for the likes of Jota. And when you look at these players who haven't always been performing, like your Gakpos, your Núñez and your Diaz, who haven't always been at that top level throughout the whole entire season, it is a really respectable achievement. And fair play to Salah for achieving that. So it's not all doom and gloom. He's not completely finished, but we've just seen a massive drop off in his goal scoring numbers in those big games and in general really, and his impact in games as well is much below in terms of beating a player 1v1, especially this season. He's been so poor. I don't think I've really seen Salah beat a player 1v1 that I can recall in a big moment. He just constantly loses the ball. However, what shows you that Mohamed Salah is still a top quality player is that he is still scoring despite the fact he's not playing very well. Against Everton, earlier on in the season, he was shocking. He misplaced so many passes, he could barely beat a player 1v1. Yet he scores the only 2 goals of the game, which ensure Liverpool grab all 3 points. And then against Brighton, in a similar sort of period of the season, he scores 2 goals and grabs Liverpool a point in a 2-2 draw away at the Amex. And he was poor that day yet again. Yet he scores 4 goals across those 2 games. That shows you that he's still got the quality, because when players score, when they're not at that top level, when they're not at their full belief and confidence, and they still get goals, that really shows you that they are a world-class player. But to be brutally honest, it's only the last month or 2 that he's been really, really poor. Since he's come back from AFCON, since he's come back from that injury, we've really seen Salah drop his levels drastically. Before that, he wasn't too bad. Yes, there were a lot of notable performances where he was really poor, but generally speaking, up until that point where he did go to AFCON, he was alright. He was having a good season. But even then, like I just said, he still wasn't playing at that top level like we've seen years gone by, where Salah just beats defenders with ease, scores beautiful goals and creates an abundance of chances on top of that. He was just having a decent season by Salah's standard. But yes, the last month or 2, he has been pretty poor to say the least. And it's come at the worst time because I'm a Liverpool fan and I want us to win the league. And at the moment, Salah is not leading Liverpool towards this title. But before we wrap up, comment down below your thoughts on Mo Salah at this moment. Have we seen the best of him, or will we see a new revitalised Salah under the next Liverpool manager? Comment down below your thoughts and opinions on the Egyptian. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.